Hello, welcome to this lesson. Today you will learn how to speak English naturally, just like I do. Speaking a new language can be exciting but sometimes tricky. Don't worry, I will guide you step by step. First, listen carefully to the sounds and rhythm I use. Notice how I connect words smoothly. Next, practice common phrases and expressions that I say every day. This will help you sound more confident. Also, pay attention to the way I use simple grammar to make your sentences easy to understand. Remember, speaking well takes time and patience. Keep trying, and soon you will talk like me, feeling relaxed and clear. Ready? Let's begin and have fun learning together. Speaking English naturally can seem difficult, but it becomes easier when you understand some key ideas. Today, we will explore how to sound more like a native speaker and express yourself clearly. The first step is to focus on pronunciation. English has many sounds that might not exist in your language, so it's important to listen closely and practice regularly. When I speak, I pay attention to how my mouth moves and how I make each sound. For example, some words have silent letters, like the K in no or the W in right. These letters do not make sounds, so it is best to skip them when you say the word. Listening to native speakers in movies, podcasts, or songs can help you hear the correct pronunciation. Try repeating the words or phrases after them to train your mouth and ears. Besides individual sounds, the rhythm of English is important. English is a stress-timed language, which means some syllables are stronger or louder than others. When I speak, I emphasize certain words to help my listener understand the main idea. This makes the sentence flow smoothly instead of sounding choppy or robotic. For example, in the sentence, "I want to go to the store," the words want, go, and store have more stress because they carry meaning. Practicing this pattern will help you sound more natural. Try reading aloud and marking which words you should stress. Notice how native speakers pause between important ideas and connect sounds together quickly, almost like they are blending words. This is called linking. For instance, go to sounds like ga to when spoken fast. Learning to link words will make your speech faster and more fluent. Now, let's talk about common expressions I use in everyday conversation. Using these phrases will help you sound like a real person, not just someone translating word for word from another language. When I greet friends, I often say, "Hey, how's it going?" instead of the formal, "How are you?" This phrase is casual and friendly. When someone asks me for help, I reply with, "No problem," or "Sure thing," which sounds more relaxed than just "yes." You can practice these phrases by imagining conversations you might have in real life. For example, if you meet a new person, you might say, "Nice to meet you," or "What do you do for fun?" These simple questions open up a friendly dialogue. Remember, it is okay to make mistakes while practicing, because that is how you improve. Grammar also plays a role in how I speak. I tend to use simple and clear sentence structures because they are easier to understand. For example, instead of saying, "I am going to be arriving at the location in approximately 15 minutes, I say, I will be there in 15 minutes. Using shorter sentences helps avoid confusion. Sometimes native speakers shorten words when speaking quickly. For example, I am becomes I'm, and you are becomes you're. This is normal and makes speech sound smoother. When you practice, try to say contractions to get used to natural English rhythm. Also, focus on using correct verb tenses. If you are talking about something happening now, use the present tense. If it happened before, use the past tense. This makes your meaning clear to listeners. One useful trick I use is to learn phrases rather than just single words. For example, instead of memorizing good or bad alone, learn full phrases like, that's great, or that's too bad. These short expressions help you react quickly in conversation and show your feelings clearly. When I watch TV shows or listen to conversations, I write down interesting phrases I hear and practice them. Over time, you will build a mental library of useful expressions. It is also helpful to practice speaking with a partner or recording yourself. Listening to your own voice helps you notice mistakes and areas to improve. Try to speak slowly at first, focusing on correct pronunciation and rhythm, then gradually increase your speed. Another important part of talking like me is using body language and facial expressions. Communication is not just about words. Your face and hands also send messages. When I talk to someone, I smile to show I am friendly and interested. I use my hands to explain ideas or show excitement. These nonverbal cues make conversations more engaging and easier to understand. You can practice this by looking in the mirror and speaking while using expressions and gestures. Watching videos of native speakers and copying their style can be very helpful. Being confident and relaxed also improves your speaking. If you feel nervous, take deep breaths and remember that mistakes are a natural part of learning. Lastly, practicing regularly is the key to success. Try to speak English every day, even if only for a few minutes. You can talk to yourself about your plans, describe your surroundings, or tell a short story. The more you use English, the more comfortable you will feel. Keep a notebook to write down new words, phrases, and ideas. Review it often and practice speaking aloud. When you hear a new phrase or word, try to use it in a sentence soon after. This helps your brain remember better. Learning to talk like me is a journey, and each step you take brings you closer to speaking naturally and confidently. Building on the basics of pronunciation, rhythm, and common expressions, the next step is to focus on expanding your vocabulary in a way that fits everyday conversations. When I speak, I use words that are easy to understand and fit the situation perfectly. Instead of choosing complicated vocabulary, I prefer simple words that clearly express what I mean. This approach helps keep the conversation smooth and enjoyable. For example, instead of saying, I am exhausted, I often say, I am tired. Both phrases mean the same, but the second one is more common in daily talk. Learning these practical word choices helps you connect with others more easily. Another important part of speaking like me is using questions to keep the conversation going. Asking questions shows interest and encourages the other person to share more. When I talk to friends or new people, I ask simple questions like, "What do you think?" or "How was your day?" These phrases invite others to respond and keep the dialogue flowing naturally. It is also helpful to ask follow-up questions based on what you hear. For example, if someone says they like music, you might ask, "What kind of music do you like?" This shows you are listening carefully and care about the other person's opinions. Practicing this skill will make your conversations more dynamic and enjoyable. Listening carefully is another key habit I practice. Good speakers are also good listeners because understanding what others say helps us reply better. When someone talks, I focus on their words, tone, and body language. This helps me understand not just the words, but also the feelings behind them. If something is unclear, I politely ask for clarification by saying, "Can you say that again?" Or, "I'm not sure I understand." These phrases show respect and help avoid confusion. Listening also helps you learn new words and phrases naturally, so try to pay attention during conversations, TV shows, or podcasts. The more you listen, the more you improve your speaking skills. Using polite expressions is something I always keep in mind. Politeness is very important in English, especially when speaking with people you don't know well or in professional situations. I use words like please, thank you, and excuse me often. For example, if I need help, I say, "Could you please help me?" instead of just "help me." Adding polite words makes your speech sound kind and respectful. It also creates a positive atmosphere and encourages others to respond warmly. If you want to sound polite without being too formal, try phrases like, "Would you mind?" or "Could I ask?" These expressions are soft and friendly, making conversations more pleasant. In addition to politeness, I also use small talk to connect with others. Small talk is light conversation about everyday topics like the weather, hobbies, or current events. When I meet someone new, I might say, "Nice weather today, isn't it?" Or, "Have you seen the new movie?" These simple topics help break the ice and make people feel comfortable. Small talk may seem unimportant, but it builds trust and creates a friendly environment. You can practice small talk by thinking of common topics and questions. Try to listen to how native speakers start conversations and notice the phrases they use. Over time, you will become more confident starting your own small talk. One thing I do to make my speech interesting is to add stories or examples. Instead of just giving facts, I share personal experiences or describe situations. This makes what I say more lively and easier to remember. For example, if someone asks about my weekend, I don't just say, "I went shopping." I add details like, "I found a great sale on shoes and spent the afternoon with friends." Adding details paints a picture for the listener and helps them connect with you. When you tell stories, try to use simple past tense to describe events that happened before. This helps your listeners understand the timeline clearly. Connecting your ideas smoothly is also important in conversation. When I speak, I use linking words like and, but, so, and because to show relationships between thoughts. These words help the listener follow what I am saying without confusion. For example, "I wanted to go out, but it started raining," shows a contrast. Or, I'm tired because I worked all day, explains the reason. Using these words makes your speech more organized and easier to understand. Practice combining sentences with these connectors to improve your flow. Another skill I use is paying attention to intonation. Intonation means the rise and fall of your voice when speaking. It helps show if you are asking a question, making a statement, or showing emotion. For example, when I ask a question like, "Are you coming?" my voice goes up at the end. But when I say, "I am coming," my voice goes down. Using the correct intonation makes your meaning clear and makes you sound more natural. You can practice intonation by listening carefully to native speakers and repeating their sentences with the same melody. Using expressions of agreement and disagreement politely is something I also find helpful. When I agree with someone, I say phrases like, "That's true," "I agree," or "exactly." These short expressions show that I am listening and understand the other person's point. When I disagree, I use gentle phrases like, "I see your point, but," or "That's interesting, however." This way, I share my opinion without sounding rude or harsh. Polite disagreement keeps conversations respectful and open. Practicing these expressions will help you communicate your ideas clearly while maintaining good relationships. Finally, I want to emphasize the importance of confidence. Speaking with confidence means believing in yourself and your ability to communicate. Even if you make mistakes, speaking confidently helps others understand you better and makes conversations more enjoyable. I encourage you to smile, speak clearly, and maintain eye contact. These actions show that you are engaged and comfortable. Remember, everyone makes mistakes when learning a language. What matters most is that you keep trying and practicing every day. Now that you have learned important basics and useful phrases, it is time to focus on advanced ways to improve your English speaking skills and really talk like me. One of the best methods is to practice thinking in English. Often, learners translate from their native language, which slows down speech and causes errors. Instead, try to form your thoughts directly in English. This means, when you want to say something, create the sentence in your mind without translating. At first, this might feel difficult or slow, but with practice, your brain will adjust. You can start by describing your day or what you see around you silently in English. This mental exercise trains you to speak more naturally and quickly. Another advanced skill is using idioms and slang carefully. Native speakers often use these expressions in casual conversations to sound more friendly and relaxed. For example, when I say it's a piece of cake, I mean something is very easy. Or when I say I'm feeling under the weather, I mean I feel sick. Using these phrases correctly adds color to your speech and helps you understand native speakers better. However, idioms and slang are informal and not always suitable for work or formal settings. It is important to know when and where to use them. You can learn idioms by listening to movies, TV shows, or talking with friends, and then practicing them in context. Practicing pronunciation at the sentence level is also very helpful. Instead of only repeating single words, try to say full sentences out loud with correct intonation and stress. For example, say, "Can you help me with this?" with the right rising tone at the end to show it is a question. Recording yourself speaking and listening back can reveal areas to improve. Sometimes you may notice that your stress is on the wrong word or your intonation is flat. Listening to your recordings allows you to make corrections and track your progress over time. This method gives you real feedback and helps you become more aware of how you sound. To improve your fluency, try shadowing. Shadowing means listening to a native speaker and speaking at the same time, copying their rhythm, intonation, and speed. This exercise helps your mouth get used to English sounds and flow. You can do this with videos, podcasts, or audiobooks. Choose a short passage and repeat it several times until you feel comfortable. Shadowing improves not only pronunciation, but also confidence, because you practice speaking aloud regularly. It is a fun and effective way to sound more like me. Another important tip is to expand your ability to tell stories. Storytelling is a powerful way to communicate and connect with people. When I tell stories, I include who, what, when, where, why, and how to make the story complete and interesting. For example, instead of just saying, "I went to the park," I say, "Last Saturday, I went to the park near my house because the weather was beautiful. I saw many families playing and had a great time." Adding details and emotions makes your stories memorable and keeps listeners engaged. Practicing storytelling will help you organize your thoughts and speak smoothly. Using humor is another way I make my conversations lively and enjoyable. Jokes, funny comments, or light teasing create a friendly atmosphere and show your personality. Of course, humor should be used carefully to avoid misunderstandings or offending anyone. Simple jokes about everyday life or playful comments work well. For example, if someone is late, you might say with a smile, "Nice of you to join us." Learning a few jokes or funny phrases can make your English more fun and help you build friendships. Watching comedy shows or listening to funny podcasts are good ways to learn how humor works in English. To talk like me, it is also important to develop your ability to give opinions and agree or disagree politely, but we touched on that before. Now think about explaining your reasons clearly when you share an opinion. For example, instead of saying, "I don't like that," try, "I don't like that because it is too noisy." Giving reasons makes your ideas stronger and helps the other person understand your point of view. Practicing this skill prepares you for deeper conversations and debates. It is also good to listen carefully to others' opinions and respond respectfully, even if you disagree. Engaging in real conversations with native speakers or other learners is one of the most effective ways to improve. If you don't have access to people nearby, many online platforms offer conversation partners or language exchange programs. Speaking regularly in real situations helps you apply what you have learned and gain confidence. Don't worry about mistakes. Focus on communicating your ideas. After each conversation, reflect on what you did well and what you can improve next time. This practice makes your learning more practical and rewarding. Lastly, setting clear goals will keep you motivated on this journey. For example, Decide if you want to improve your pronunciation, learn new vocabulary, or speak fluently on a specific topic. Break your goals into small, manageable steps and celebrate your progress. Consistency is the key. Even 10 minutes of daily practice will bring big improvements over time. Remember, speaking like me is a skill you build gradually, and every conversation is a step forward. By combining these strategies, thinking in English, learning idioms, practicing sentences, shadowing, storytelling, using humor, explaining opinions, engaging in conversations, and setting goals, you will develop your own natural way of speaking English. Keep practicing, stay curious, and enjoy the process. Soon, talking like me will feel easy and fun.